every organ has a mechanism to cleanse, and today we're going to look at cleansing the lungs and the respiratory system. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. We've been working with the respiratory system all month, and today we're going to get really detailed into how does the respiratory system, how do the lungs cleanse, and then what can we do to help that process. We're going to be using our therapeutic breath system and engage in breathing. But let's look at a little bit of the sort of get some understanding of what we're dealing with. The lungs are it has a huge surface area inside the lungs. If you took an average human lungs and spread them out of all the surface area and just spread it all out, it's about the size of a basketball court. It's a lot of surface area. Of course, we need that surface area for that gas exchange, for oxygen to come in and the carbon dioxide to come out. Well, that entire surface is a mucous membrane that produces mucus, and it's covered in this layer of mucus. That mucus serves several purposes. One is that it's a liquid interface, so it doesn't dry out the tissue, so everything stays moist. And oxygen and carbon dioxide can transfer into the liquid, because it has to diffuse. That oxygen has to diffuse into the liquid, and otherwise it's just a dry surface and nothing's going to work. So there's a liquid interface, keeps everything moist. The other thing that it does is it protects against dust and mold and spores and things like that. So it traps that material. And obviously, we wouldn't want it to stay down there, so that material starts to sweep out. Now, how does it get rid of it? It doesn't absorb it in and take it through the body, although I'm sure there are chemicals and exposures like volatile compounds, paint thinners and things like that definitely will go in and damage the lung. Smoke, that type of thing can damage the lung and actually have to be absorbed into the body. But what the mechanism really is, a physical mechanism of literally sweeping the mucus up and out of the lungs, and so it comes up the tube, and it's these little. The reason I'm making this little sweeping motion is because every one of these, if this were the lining of the lungs, the lining is covered in these little cilia, these little filaments, and these filaments literally beat and sweep upward, okay? And it's constantly beating and sweeping upward, and so that pushes the mucus up, and all of this comes up into the throat, and then we swallow it. So as far as I understand, we swallow like a quart or 2 quarts of this mucus every day, so it's constantly going through. This means that there's a lot of factors, in especially hydration issues, that can have an impact on how thick that mucus is and whether I'm getting that to clear out. You can also see how structure, if I'm restricted in my lung volume or in the shape, or the tube is kinked or cranked down or any of that kind of thing, it can impact, again, the circulation of this mucus coming out. So this is why I've built up to this point, why we didn't just jump into this right at the beginning, because you need to have all those factors in place. So if you're just jumping in right here and you think, oh, I want to go right to cleansing the lungs, you might reconsider and go back and do the previous 3 weeks here so that you can be ready for this. The other part about cleansing and using therapeutic breath to cleanse, it's very effective. It really gets fluid moving, so it's going to pull that fluid from somewhere out of the body and into the lungs to help this stuff sweep out. So you need to be well hydrated, which is why, again, I've kind of built you up the whole time saying we need to get hydrated, drink your morning water, and all those things. The other thing that helps the mucus to flow better is the vitamin C. So vitamin C helps to liquefy mucus, and that's why we've been supporting the whole body with the Super C. Okay. Now, there's also an upper respiratory system. We'll also breathe into that and do a little bit of cleansing of that. And that's the same kind of thing. We've got a lining inside the sinuses. I'm not sure that they have little cilia. They might. I just haven't never heard that. But this also produces a mucus, stays wet, and then that drains down. Obviously, we have gravity helping us in the sinuses. But again, if my head has been crunched, if I've had a head injury, or even at birth, if the head got really kind of wonky, if you grew up with a lot of ear infections, then probably your head isn't on straight on the structure, and it can affect the drainage and sinuses and things like that. So that's kind of the lay of the land. I also want to mention that inside the lungs, in that whole mucus lining and all the rest of that, is a very unique immune system, part of the complement system, and it's specific for the lungs. And so there's a lot of immune support for the lungs, and you can see why if you're breathing in spores and things like that, that airborne things that could actually end up infecting the lungs. So, okay, so we're gonna touch on that a little bit in our breath, but we'll do a little bit more of that as we go along, and especially by the time we get to the immune system. All right, so we know that with our therapeutic breath, we've been kind of paying attention to consciously to how we breathe and bringing air in, and that air goes into the bloodstream and all that. So this time we're going to again keep our consciousness, or with our imagination, stay in the lungs themselves, because we're really working on that mucus, and we're going to breathe in and work on clearing. I'm going to go ahead and break this down into more specific regions. So as we start to breathe into the lungs, I'm assuming you've already done some of that where we breathe into left and right and front and back. So you kind of have a working knowledge of that because we've done that in the past 3 weeks. Now, let's go ahead and begin some of our breathing. I'm going to inhale, and with that inhale, I'm going to take a listening breath, and I'm going to go ahead and start on the left and breathe down into the left lower lobe. Okay, so the lower half of the left lung. And I'm going to touch that part and put my hands there, and I'm going to inhale and bring my awareness there, just a listening breath. And I'm specifically focusing on listening to the lining, the mucus, the edge, where that mucus lining interfaces with the air. Okay, so I'm going to inhale and listen to that. It might take 3 or 4 inhales. And I already can tell, just with my imagery, just feeling it, that there's some areas that are very, very gooey. They're not really moving very well. This is deep down in the lower left part of the lung. And so I'm just getting aware of that and kind of notate that. I'm going to go ahead and breathe up into the left upper lung. Again, my attention, my focus, my listening is for the mucus lining and the mucus and the flow of the mucus. Take a couple more breaths. And just getting aware of that, just bringing our consciousness to that. Again, this is a listening breath. I'm going to do the right side. There are 3 lobes on the right, so we're going to do right lower. And again, I'm going to touch that area just to give me my brain a little bit more to focus on. And I realize I'm touching in the back side and front of the rib cage, so that I get a full, complete sense of the volume. I don't want to just touch the front because my lung goes all the way to the back. So I really want to get that full volume. And so that's why you see me doing this. So I'm going to, the right lower lobe, which is down at the bottom, right over the liver. And again, the lower lobes for me seem to be a lot more stuck, a lot thicker. The mucus is it doesn't seem to be flowing. And that might be just part of gravity, right? They're farther down to go. It's harder to get those out, the mucus out. Now in the middle lobe of the right, front and back, feeling the full volume. Again, focusing on the mucus lining. And then upper right. Now we've got a sense of connecting to where how that mucus is feeling, what's going on. And I identified that for both the lower lungs, they're a lot thicker. There's a lot more. Now, one thing that can really help us get in touch with this internal volume is to use our RC oil and inhale the RC oil and help that awareness, because the RC has that kind of spicy, tingly feel, and it can give us that a little bit better awareness, I think, of what's going on in the lungs. So I'm going to go ahead and use my oil, 3 drops of my RC oil, and spreading that. This is the Young Living blend called RC. And now I'm just inhaling it and bringing it in. But now I'm going to really use this inhale and focus it down to the whole left lung, and I'm going to invite that oil to tell me and show me, give me that tingle and show me where all that mucus is. So I'm really inviting that oil to come deep into the lungs. And now I'm going to do the right side. So I didn't do the oil right away because I needed that initial connection to touch my rib cage to make that first connection. And then that second time I could use the oil and use this inhalation. And so now I kind of feel I've got a sense of the everything being sort of stimulated and activated, and I can feel the tingle. And so now I'm gonna do what I call this cleansing breath. Okay, so that was a listening breath. I'm kind of just listening. Now I want to do an action breath where I'm really going to invite the mucus to start to flow better, to come out. And since it would make sense to me to clear the top first, I'm going to go ahead and clear the top first. It's probably a little easier, and then we'll go down from there. So, and then again, now we're going beyond our physical breathing, and we're going to get into this idea of just engaging the mind consciously. So when I inhale, I realize air is coming in, but my awareness is going to be actually doing the opposite mentally. I'm actually imagining pulling with the breath, right? I'm imagining pulling with the breath. I know the breath is coming in, but I'm imagining it pulling this mucus into the tubes and to get it to come up and through, okay? So, okay, that's kind of how that feels. And I'm taking the upper left, and I've already made my connection to the mucus lining, so I'm really focusing on that mucus lining, and I'm inviting it to just pull. I'm helping with my consciousness, my imagination. I'm helping those little cilia beat and flush that mucus out of there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the right, upper. So I'm not, if you're not this aware, that's fine. I'm really feeling that it's struggling in the back. Okay, so I'm using this action breath, but the action breath also gives me another awareness, this opportunity to go back and forth. So I'm feeling it really stuck back there. So I'm going to reach back and be a little more suggestive, a little more firm in my consciousness, and really coax that mucus from the deep back upper, and coax that to come out and really flush through. Okay, so that's the upper. Now I might just take one breath to kind of integrate the left and right, but I've just done the upper. Now I'm going to go down and do lower, and again I'm pulling that mucus up and out. I'm actually already feeling it, and so I'm going to inhale and pull that. I've already done my listening breath. So imagining that mucus just coming up and through. Okay, and so that's it. That's the thing. I can do the same thing with the sinuses. Right side, left side, and reach up and pull down. So I'm getting that, again, I'm just getting that awareness of getting the mucus and the fluid to flow. Now I'm going to do one more little breath before we run out of our 15 minutes here, and that is to really get the fluid, the water in the body to rehydrate the lungs. So now I'm going to pull with my breath reach into the body and pull the fluid to the lungs. Because I really want to get the fluid to kind of replenish. Now I'm probably going to be dehydrated in the rest of my body, so I'm going to need to go drink water. I might actually also be already feeling like I need to pee because this stuff goes right through us. So this is cleansing breath. This is it's very effective. So don't take this lightly. It really does work. Now tomorrow we're going to be going one step further and actually engaging in healing. Using our mind to work on healing and repairing the lung tissue. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. Join us. Keep breathing. Happy wellness.